My name is Joey Ramirez. Drug of choice was methamphetamine, also alcohol, and I have been clean for about 2 months. Two sisters, uh, great father, great mother. Um, the only thing I could really say about my childhood is that it was not a very warm, loving, good morning, good night, I love you kind of childhood. It was more machismo, typical Latino love, handshaking, no hugs, no kisses, no throwing the ball back and forth to dad. Um, None of that warm stuff. It was more of a on your own with your sisters, and um, they're not a typical loving family. Like I said, they weren't abusive physically or mentally, or I never saw them argue or saw them fight. There was nothing like that. It was just out on my own, playing with my friends, playing with my sisters, coming in, going to sleep, waking up in the morning, going to school. It was pretty much a routine kind of family. As a child, no. There were a lot of family functions. A lot of drinking. I would be playing with my cousins or friends. I never saw anything other than alcohol. There was plenty of that going around. Now that I think about it, the late nights of, that turned into 2, 3 o'clock in the morning drinking. Now if I piece it together, those are the type of things I used to do. But I never saw any of it. I never saw any drugs or any kind of drug abuse. It was more alcohol. But now that I think about it and gone through my own things, the kind of characteristics that they would have or do, or the things that they were doing, late night, kind of piece it together. But I never saw any of it, no. So I had a typical teenage life. I enjoyed biking, sports. Um, uh, High school was good. Kind of fit in with the popular crowd. Um, Grades are good. They weren't the best, but they were BC average. Um, I never was one to ditch or miss school because of outside activities. I was pretty much afraid that I would disappoint my parents or I'd get caught. So that never became a thing. I did started drinking around 15 years, when I was 15 years old. First drink I had was in Mexico with my cousins. Um, and I would drink occasionally with my friends here when we could get alcohol. Obviously, we were underage. Drugs were never a factor. My friends would occasionally smoke weed, but I never did. Got pregnant at 19. Had my first child at 20. So my getting out of high school, I was already in a relationship with my daughter's mom, where she became pregnant at 19. Well, the first time that I actually used meth was after I was using cocaine. The first time I used cocaine was in my 20s, at a family party. Um, my uncles would come in and out of the room. This is on my mom's side. My uncles would come in and out of the room. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought that everybody was just going in there and using the restroom, coming back out. But at one point, he asked me if I wanted to try something, and I said okay. And without knowing, he gave me a dirty old rolled up Post-it and said, "Here, snort this," and I did. And that was the first time I used cocaine. I continued to go to his house, on the weekends as they would have parties, and continue using and drinking and staying there late nights. Then it started becoming a point where it was coming too expensive to be partying like that for me. In my early 20s, when I got introduced to crystal meth, and obviously it was cheaper and easier to get my hands on because it was kind of everywhere. Cocaine was a little more, it was harder for me to find, a little harder to get. So I ended up using it for the first time with my friends, and it became a weekend thing, and it continued to be a weekend thing. But it slowly started, seeping into the week, during the week, before work, after work, trying to stay awake, going to work. Needed to continuously have to, have a couple of rails before I went to work, and then I'd get home, and then the party would continue, and it became the routine to party, throughout the week and every day. I've smoked it one time. I smoked crystal one time and did not like it at the time. I would say not so much the craziest, but probably the lowest point was probably gathering up a bunch of quarters from my dad's closet where he had a bucket of change. I didn't have a car at the time. I was living with my parents. I didn't have a job. So I grabbed a bunch of quarters, $20 worth, put it in a baggie, and rode my bike to the next city over, which is probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 10 miles. And that was pretty much, the lowest, I've gotten. This is probably the craziest, thing I've done to score. It was probably meth. Yeah, when I first started using, since my body enjoyed the high while it was high, but when the come down from using crystal at the beginning it was horrible. It was lasted for about 2 or 3 days. The nauseousness, the going to the restroom, the greasy face, which is pretty much what happened most of the time. But yeah, it was the very first times that I used and would come off of it. It was the next 3 days that were probably the worst feeling. Yeah, I pretty much destroyed the last 2 relationships that I had while using. It was a problem when I was drinking, and then it was a problem when I was using, and it was a problem when I was doing both. Trying to hide it from who I was with at the time. My last relationship ended because I was drinking too much. I wasn't using so much, but I was drinking heavily. The relationship before, I was using heavily every day. Couldn't, at night, in the morning, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I was doing it every day and at work. So my relationships with my past 2 girlfriends were pretty much thrown out the window because of my addictions. So April 15th, I was supposed to go to a quinceañera. It was on a Saturday. Friday night, the Friday night before, I ended up going out with a friend. I tried to get out of it, but I got suckered into it, which is no excuse. But obviously I could have said no. I didn't. I went out, got drunk, blacked out. I would black out a lot when I was drinking. So I blacked out. Saturday comes around. I wake up. I'm at his house. This is about 5:30. I wake up, start drinking again, and then I go pick up around 9 o'clock in the morning. I go pick up. I continue drinking, I continue using. I'm trying to get ready to go to the quinceañera, I never went. I had all my family members waiting for me, people from out of town. Everybody's calling me. Now we're into like Saturday evening. Everybody's like, "What's going on? Where are you? Are you okay?" Then now we're into Sunday, and to Monday, and to Tuesday. I started coming around because I was still high. I pretty much stayed high from Saturday morning, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I missed work. I ended up coming here that Tuesday, that following Tuesday to Solace. I was trying to find myself. I realized that something needed to change. I needed a life adjustment. I was lost. I knew in my heart that this couldn't go on. So I needed help. And as much as I tried to stop in the past, and I couldn't, because months would go by and I'd use it again. So every time I kept telling myself, this will be the last time, this is gonna be the last time, this is gonna be the last time. And every last time just kept becoming another time, another time, another time. So I could never get over that hump. I could never get over the hump, and alcohol was lowering my guard or bringing my guard down to use. And that was my problem. If I was trying to stop drinking, if I was trying to stop using, the alcohol would make me use again. If I was trying to stop, drinking, then I'd start using. So I couldn't it was dropping one bad habit for another. And obviously I couldn't. So I needed help. And I came here. Well, physically I feel better. That's for one, because I know physically I started feeling, in the morning I'd wake up, feeling drained when I was using the drinking. Being here, I've been able to express myself, open up emotionally, talk to somebody, get advice. My whole goal for being here is to be able to know that that life that I was living wasn't it. There was so much more, and I knew that I needed to find myself and to continue my life in a more positive way, for my kids and for my family. I knew I was affecting my family. I knew that I knew that my parents would know when I was using. They knew when I was heavily drinking, whether it was because I was avoiding them or because they could physically see it. Coming here has made me realize that there's so much more to live for, so much forward to enjoy, and drinking started becoming my hobby, and that story gets old. So at that weekend when I didn't go for that function, I realized that this can no longer continue, and I feel good being here. I feel really good. It's good to be here with the group. I enjoy being here with the group. I look forward to coming here to talking with the group. Seeing people develop, seeing people get better. I'm not the only one, and you know when I talk to Vanessa and we have our weekly hourly meetings, it helps. You know, sometimes you need help to open up, and I didn't know I have all these deep down emotions that are buried down in there that I never knew I had until you start talking about it. That's a hard question to answer because I'm going through it still. I'm battling myself, but I'm battling because I want to. If you're not battling, it's because you don't want to battle. And you know the whole cliche about you're not alone, you're not this, you're not that. There's so much more. Yeah, it's all true. But unless you want to change, and unless you want to enjoy your life the way you should, and believe in something higher than us is there watching over us to protect us, and so much good out there, you don't need to do drugs. You don't need to do alcohol. I realized in the last few times that I've been around family functions and there's been alcohol that I could enjoy myself without being high or drunk. And now that I realize how sloppy people can get, I'm looking back and I'm saying, man, this is how I look. This is how ridiculous I look. So the shame of knowing that I was that person makes me want to change, and and to be there for my kids, because in the way I was going, I wasn't gonna make it very far. I was just one bad decision away from ruining what I had, the little that I have. And sometimes you just gotta have a piece of that humble pie, and you can't do that when you're high or drunk.